What's up, guys? So, recently I came across a video that Billy Smith, Elvis's cousin, and his son made about Elvis. And first of all, I started out saying I really like Billy Smith. He's like one of my favorite guys of the whole Memphis Mafia. And I think he really cared about Elvis. And I do enjoy Memphis Mafia Kids channel, so a plug for them. So anyways, as I was saying, I came across this video about Billy Smith talking about when he believes the 50-50 deal that real Elvis fans hate. They hate to mention, they hate to think about it. How Parker was able to, he believes, get Elvis to forfeit another 25% of his earnings to Parker, because before I believe it was initially only 25% Parker would get, but it jumped up to 50%. And I came across this video. I want to pick it apart and show you what he said, and then add upon that what my thoughts are. And I think this will really give some insights to the Elvis fans on that Parker Presley 50-50 infamous deal.
Look, I'm going to talk about something really interesting. Today I'm going to talk about when I think Carl and Elvis drew up the contract for 50%.
So I want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory. What he's talking about is in 1967, Elvis had an injury, a fall, an accident. He was coming a little bit too heavy into the medications, and he even experimented with, LSD and a few other things, and just trying. He was very unhappy with his career. He had just made a gospel record to, start to really get the ball rolling and getting back to his roots. This was just before the comeback special. So Elvis, at one point he was in his bathroom, he was out of it. He slipped, fell, hit his head, had a concussion. They found him a little later, and this is the point where Billy gets into it.
He told me, he said, just come on in here and stay with me and all, and we'll, try to get through a couple of days, he said, without doing anything, looks like. So went in there and stayed with him in his room. And we talked about different things, family and all kind of stuff, It was only maybe 3 days, best I remember, that Colonel came up there. And he came in Elvis's room. Well, they wanted me to, leave out of the room, excuse them, so I knew they was getting ready to talk business. Because that's about the only time, Elvis didn't have somebody around him. So I went outside and the door, and after a few minutes I heard this volume go up on both of them's voices. And through the door I couldn't really tell what they were saying. It was really hard. I did know, like I say, I noticed if you could hear through the door that the voices had to be kind of loud. And it would be Elvis one time, Colonel next. Well, after Colonel left, went back in, and Elvis, he was sitting there and he wasn't saying much at all.
So that's one thing already I don't like. Colonel raising his voice to Elvis. Like, I understand, but Elvis employs you, Like, I understand Colonel, he's about the business. He wants to make sure Elvis is meeting his obligations. What happened was, maybe Colonel felt, a little responsible and embarrassed that his client is not there. But, Colonel worked for Elvis. Elvis didn't work for Colonel. So the fact of me picturing, Elvis in bed, and really he's just unhappy with his career. Elvis is in bed, and then Colonel's, yelling at him, you will do this, you will do this. And, Elvis, fights back. But listen to what Billy says when he comes back in.
He said, damn, he said, the next thing I'll be working for Colonel. And I said, you will? Why? He said, I'm just kidding. He said, the Colonel, he's all upset because I wouldn't, I couldn't go to the studio and start filming the movie and all that. And I said, well, you know, he knows that. He should understand that. I'm sure he's talked to the producers, and he said, yeah, he said he has, but you know, and he was kind of avoiding all the way around the whole thing. Yeah, and I kept wondering what he meant by, you know, I'll be working for the colonel now. He said, you know, he said, things are getting a little tight. He said, I'm probably going to have to let some people go. And that's what I think the whole balance was about, is the fact that, you know, he had renegotiated, because that's just about the time that that contract came into being. And I think that's what it was, you know. And from there on, Elvis was a little more, you know, distance toward the colonel in a manner of speaking. They, you know, colonel come around, that was fine. If he didn't, you know, but that's what I think. And that was my thoughts, and I thought about it over the years, and I'm pretty sure that's when that took place, because it just wasn't like Elvis to say something like that. And you know, and he one thing about him, he never talked business with any of the guys. That's one thing that strictly between him and Colonel.
So for those of you who like the Colonel and who are always defending the Colonel and saying he was a genius, I mean, yeah, maybe so, in the sense that how he took money from Elvis, 50%. Come on, if this is when it happened, but at some point it did happen, and I tend to agree with Billy's theory here. You know, what can I say about that? You know, Elvis is like, looks like I'll be working for the Colonel. So Elvis realized what was going on. And for one reason or another, Elvis accepted it. Let's see why.
What leverage he used, I got my speculations, but couldn't swear to it one way or the other. But
so Billy thinks that maybe Parker had some leverage over Elvis, that maybe he, you know, was blackmailing him in some way. You know, now this is speculation. I don't know anything. I wasn't there, obviously. Billy says he doesn't know for sure, but if you think about it, you know, how did Parker convince Elvis to give him another 25% of his profits? Elvis is like, I guess I'm working for Colonel now. You know, personally, if Parker, you know, negotiated with him in some type of way, you call it what you want, it could have been because at this point, Priscilla wasn't married to Elvis yet, you know, and I believe that Elvis didn't want to get married. There was something he was avoiding. I mean, some sources even say that Elvis was looking to get rid of Priscilla. You know, I hate to say it, but you know, a lot of people say that as well. So I kind of think, because I know that Elvis did receive pressure from Priscilla's dad and Colonel about this, you know, maybe it could have been that, you know, you got with Priscilla when she was so young, and you know, the haters, I'm not saying got with, but you know, you took her up across state lines, you made promises to her. If this goes bad, or if you don't, you know, do what I say or renegotiate this contract with me, I'm gonna make you look bad in this situation. And Elvis, maybe he was scared, because you gotta forget, Elvis was dirt poor, and some of that fear could have been going back there. I don't know what was talked about, I'm just speculating, but it could have been that, you know. What do you guys think? Post in the comments. The story's not over though. Listen to this next part.
We were talking, and this is another thing that made me think, you know, something's a little different here and not right. Colonel had a way of picking you, as we used to say in the old terms. In other words, you get certain information out of you. On the way back, he said, you know, Elvis would really, you know, he said, you know, I handle Elvis, I think, really, really good. He said, you know, it would probably be to Elvis's benefit if I handled his money and not his daddy. And I knew right then, so I just thought for a second. I said, look, Colonel, I said, Elvis loves his daddy, and he does his business, as far as I know, well enough to suit him. And I said, that is his daddy. And I said, I don't know, I don't think that would go over. I said, he wants to make sure his daddy's got something to do. And he said, well, he said, I just think I could probably handle it better. I said, well, maybe you could. I said, but you need to talk to Elvis about that. And he suddenly got quiet, and we didn't say any more about that. We talked about other things from there on.
So now he wants to handle Elvis's money. So he wants 50%, 50-50 split, and not even talking about in 1973 when he made that deal with RCA to sell all Elvis's previously recorded songs or royalties for a lump sum. I believe it was $5 million. And Elvis, I believe, only wound up with like 1.5 million after Colonel got his, and so he sold it all and basically only got $1 million. And on top of that, which was in the future, but on top of the 50-50 deal, Parker was also, according to Billy, interested in handling Elvis's money. I mean, does that sound a little fishy to you? Does that sound like, from what you've seen here, of somebody that you could trust? I mean, when I watched this video, I never heard that fact right there, or I never heard, Billy say that, but that was a first-hand account. I don't think Billy would lie, so him saying that just made me look at Colonel even more with suspicion. Like, maybe Vernon wasn't best at handling Elvis's money, and obviously I don't think Elvis was that great as well. We know how he spent, but Colonel, I just get the idea of him like shaving money off the top and hiding this and that. I don't know, maybe he would have been the best negotiator ever. I mean, some people think he was. Maybe he would have handled Elvis's money great. Maybe he would have invested and do those things. I mean, because, playing devil's advocate, he made a lot of money for Elvis. Maybe he would have been good with his money. What do you think? But me, when I hear that, I'm like, red flag. And that's what Billy thought also. So I just wanted to bring you this interesting video that they released a few weeks ago. Memphis Mafia Kid. Hit it in the search bar. It's a good channel. I just want to share some of my points of view, how it made me think and feel when I heard this. And I mean, people who like the Colonel, comment down below and try to justify these actions. I feel that, Elvis was kind of weak in the sense of him defending himself and sticking up for himself. He had some fight in him, but he didn't take it full course, which a lot of Elvis fans thought that he should have. A lot of fans think he should have fired Colonel right after the early part of the 60s, but that'll take 20 more minutes to talk about all that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm putting up 2 videos right here. Check them both out. Make sure you check the links below to my other my fitness channel, my Bible channel, and Patreon. And we'll talk to you guys next time. And also, thanks to all the people who DM me on Instagram and show me all the great footage that I can bring to you guys. Anyway, we'll talk to you later.